Good luck. Thank you.
We invited Kathy Hochul and Lee Zeldin to meet for interviews in places meaningful to them.
Welcome to my home.
Zeldin chose his front porch in Shirley, citing the values he learned there as a child.
Nobody was just handed success in life. You had to work hard to earn it.
I don't want to forget where I came from, ever. My parents lived in the trailer park back there.
Hochul chose the Apollo Diner in the low-income Lackawanna section of Buffalo, steps from the trailer park where her parents once lived.
This is the neighborhood where my parents started their married life. I never forget the people that are still here, and they have not forgotten me either.
This isn't exactly Manhattan, you know, and I think she understands people that are struggling.
We did visit yesterday, and people know that that's where your parents lived. Not everyone is necessarily voting for you there.
I think she's doing poorly. The price of food and prices of everything is going up.
Polls suggest concerns about public safety are putting Zeldin within striking distance, even in blue New York.
I've made up my mind. I'm not going to say publicly, but I think crime is a major issue.
The Democrats have been in power in New York for a long time. They haven't addressed the crime problem.
I'm running to take back our streets.
You can either work on keeping people scared, or you can focus on keeping them safe.
You said during the debate that Lee Zeldin is trying to scare voters. Does that mean that you think he's exaggerating the crime problem?
I think he is trying to scare voters and not offer a legitimate plan.
This area had blood.
Oh my goodness. A recent drive-by shooting in Zeldin's own front yard helped him drive his message.
It can really happen to anyone.
The Republican congressman says the state's bail laws are broken and that Governor Hochul's efforts to fix them fell short.
Is there more to do on bail reform?
I took strong steps. I gave more discretion to judges, more power to district attorneys. It's been in place a few months. I want it to work, but I'm absolutely willing to look at it all over again into the next session if we find out that there's areas still of weakness.
She's basically pandering as a political calculation. It's weak.
To the left wing of her party?
Absolutely. Yeah, she's caught between a rock and a hard place. She can't lead on this issue because she needs these people to vote for her. But the more she panders to them, the more people she alienates in the center.
I've been talking about crime since I became governor.
On the subject of nonviolent crime, not that long ago in New York, in our city, crime was down, incarceration was down, stop and frisk was down. How is it okay that we're now seeing people who commit a dozen burglaries face zero consequences?
That's not okay. That's not okay. That's why I need the system to work with the laws we've put in place. We changed the laws. Repeat offenders need to be held.
Even in nonviolent crimes.
They need to be held when there's repeat offenders.
But despite Hochul's changes, repeat offenders are still being released because New York's new laws still require judges to use the least restrictive bail, meaning even when bail is set, it's set low. And bottom line, progressive Democrats in the legislature are not interested in tougher laws.
Let's just say that they aren't willing to come to the table. What I have expressed is that on day one, I'll declare a crime emergency here in the state of New York, and that we'll suspend cashless bail and some of these other laws. This is a suspension, this isn't a repeal, and it forces the state legislature to the table. And I think it's important for us to work together to fix this.
You cannot say you're tough on crime and be soft on guns. It is absolutely inconsistent. And if you ask him, he does not support keeping 18-year-olds from buying assault weapons.
Every time I come here, it's terrible, terrible.
Traumatic?
Very, very emotional.
After an 18-year-old killed 10 people in a racially motivated supermarket massacre in Buffalo, Hochul's backyard, the governor passed tougher gun laws, raising the age to purchase a semi-automatic weapon.
She was very proactive.
Kathy Hochul believes that the only crimes that are being committed are these crimes with guns.
On one hand, you're potentially promising to unilaterally lift the state's bail laws. Suspend the state's bail laws. And on the other hand, you're promising to leave New York State's abortion laws completely intact.
I'm not going to change that abortion law, no.
Any of the abortion laws?
No, and I can't.
Zeldin says Democrats in the state assembly would never allow it.
You're saying you can't change it?
And I can't change it.
What if that changed?
I will not. and I cannot.
So if Republicans took over the State House in Albany, you would not attempt to change the state's abortion laws?
I have pledged that I will not change New York's abortion law.
How are you explaining this promise to your supporters who are anti-abortion? Because if you feel that abortion is immoral, why wouldn't you try to limit it if you had the political power to do so?
I understand that I'm in a state where there is support for this law. There needs to be a respect for the will of the people.
Now he's trying to convince people that nothing will happen. He said nothing happened the day after Dobbs was overturned. I said, you know why? That's because I'm still the governor and you're not. There's tremendous power that a governor has.
New York is a safe space. New York State, New York City has become a safe space because of their liberal policies in certain ways, and the idea of it going in a conservative direction just seems, quite frankly, terrifying.
Do you feel strongly about Hochul winning the governor's race?
Yes, based purely on reproductive rights.
If he dares try, I mean, that would just be a fun day to be in New York City, to watch New York women get out there and, like, you know, I don't know, probably kick this guy's ass.
Zeldin insists New York voters are not concerned with his ties to Donald Trump, his questioning of the 2020 election results, and vote to overturn them.
More voters submitted ballots than there were registered voters.
Do you still believe that Donald Trump won the 2020 election?
Well, I've never actually stated that Donald Trump won the 2020 election.
Should Donald Trump run for president again?
I'm focused on the November 8th election.
Isn't it valid for some people to say you're in the same position between a rock and a hard place on the right and with President Trump?
We're focused on the issues that matter most to New Yorkers. It doesn't matter right, left, center. I don't feel I'm between a rock and a hard place at all when I talk about how this state is leading the entire nation in population loss.
He denied the election. He was part of Donald Trump's team to subvert the election and perpetrate the big lie.
Yeah, if he's fighting for crime, I'd vote for him, absolutely.
What if I told you that he was backed by President Trump and backed Donald Trump?
Then it gets sticky.
You've warned that abortion is on the ballot this November. Do you have any reason to believe that marriage equality in New York is also at risk if Lee Zeldin becomes governor?
Nothing's safe. Nothing is safe.
When New York State's legislature passed marriage equality in 2011, Zeldin, in Albany at the time, voted against it. But in Congress this year, he cast a vote supporting it.
What do you have to say to New Yorkers about what your current position is on same-sex marriage?
Listen, I'm excited about going even further and making history. My running mate was chosen on her merit. She retired 25 years in the NYPD.
Instead of laying out a clear position, Zeldin talks about his running mate, Allison Esposito.
Are you ready to save our state?
It just so happens that she's going to be making history as the first lesbian, first gay lieutenant governor of the state of New York. And that's a big deal for many New Yorkers. They might not be all up in your face about it, because they don't want to take away from Allison's qualifications.
Both Zeldin and Hochul have been vague on another question. Should the state help the city pay the billion-dollar cost of sheltering thousands of South American migrants shipped from the border in recent months? New York's pleas for federal funding have not yet materialized, but Governor Hochul says she's been in regular contact with the White House.
What have those conversations produced for New Yorkers?
They produced a real solution. First of all, I don't think the biggest city in my state is going broke. I spoke to the president multiple times, and as a result, they're now processing people coming up from Venezuela while they're still in Venezuela.
Hochul taking credit for President Biden's announcement last month that these asylum seekers will now be sent back south of the border and will have to apply from there.
But there still has been no federal aid to the city. Can you say why that is?
They have said they'll look at it in the budget. There's pots of money for shelter, for food, and other long-term care. So we've already requested that, but it takes a little more time.
Local Democrats have also asked the federal government to expedite work permits for these migrants to lessen the burden on government and help with labor shortages.
My priority 1, 2, and 3 is to get people employed who are New Yorkers before we start employing people who have been in New York and have been in the United States of America for about 2 minutes.
Well, there's so many jobs unfilled. I mean, Buffalo, New York has a 3.8% unemployment place. I guarantee that someone can get a job right here. So I'm trying to respond to the needs of the economy and the employers who are asking me, calling me, saying when can they work. So in 150 days after arrival, it's a legal process.
What matters to you in this election right now?
Everything now. Economy and democracy.
New Yorkers on both sides are feeling nervous about the big stakes in this race.
People are getting released on charges. They should be in jail.
I'm very worried about abortion rights.
Any nervousness at all about turnout?
Neither candidate admits any pre-election jitters.
My feet are totally planted on the ground.
I had one where I was up 15, and another one where I'm probably down 15. I don't care.
Melissa Russo, News 4, New York.
That sure does, for sure. Yeah.